Soft music plays. A slow, steady heartbeat echoes in the distance. Red emergency lights flicker faintly on the bridge of the Terranova. Captain Jake Morrison stood in silence, staring out at the stars beyond the glass. The galaxy stretched wide and endless before him, full of beauty and full of ghosts. He had seen too many worlds burn. Too many promises of peace that never lasted. The stars looked calm, but Jake knew better. Behind every light in the dark, there was someone plotting, fighting, or dying. He took a slow breath and looked around the bridge. The Terranova was not a great ship. It wasn't powerful or elegant like the fleets of other alien empires. Its walls were dull gray. Its engines hummed softly. The controls were old, scratched, and patched together with human creativity and stubbornness. But the ship had one thing others didn't: heart. It wasn't built to intimidate. It was built to endure. In her private quarters, Ambassador Lisa Rodriguez sat alone, reading the latest reports on her tablet. Her face was calm, but her eyes told another story: exhaustion, grief, and quiet fury. 17 human colonies. Gone. 17 worlds filled with families, dreams, and laughter, now turned into ash. The reports described burned cities, destroyed ships, and millions of lives lost. But the cold text could never show the truth. Lisa had seen the pictures: hollow images of broken playgrounds, floating debris, and children's toys drifting silently in zero gravity. She closed her eyes. For 2 years she had begged for peace. For 2 years she had believed the galaxy could still listen to reason. But the galaxy had answered with fire. 3 hours later, the Terranova approached Gamma Nexus Station, a massive wheel-shaped structure spinning slowly in the emptiness of space. It was supposed to be neutral ground, a safe meeting place where enemies could talk instead of fight. At least that was the idea. As the ship drew closer, Jake's eyes narrowed. Dozens of massive warships hovered around the station. Alien ships. Krelland Empire designs, sharp, black, and hungry-looking. "They're not supposed to bring weapons here," Jake muttered. No one replied. The silence said enough. "It was supposed to be safe ground," the narrator whispered. But safety had become a myth. At the airlock, the Terranova was met by Commander Alan Brooks, the station's leader. His hair was gray, his uniform neat but worn, and his eyes heavy with years of seeing too much. "Ambassador Rodriguez," he greeted, shaking her hand. "Captain Morrison." His voice was low and tired. "The Kree arrived this morning. 12 warships. They say it's a diplomatic visit, but we both know what that means." Lisa nodded calmly. "Who's leading them?" "War Commander Vexer," Alan replied. The name alone made the air colder. Jake frowned. He had heard of Vexer: ruthless, cruel, proud. The kind of leader who didn't make peace. He made examples. Alan continued, "He's demanding all human colonies in the outer sectors. Says if Earth doesn't give them up, the Kree will take them by force. And he wants yearly tribute, ships, resources, labor." Jake's fists tightened. Lisa stayed silent, her expression unreadable. She had to be calm for now. The meeting chamber of Gamma Nexus was grand and circular, its walls lined with holographic banners of different species. A large table filled the center, glowing softly in blue light. Representatives from 6 alien races sat around it, speaking in hushed tones. Then the Kree delegation entered. The room went quiet. 5 Kree soldiers marched in, black armor shining under the lights. Behind them came War Commander Vexer, tall, red-skinned, eyes like burning coals. His smile was sharp but without warmth. Lisa stood as he approached. "Commander Vexer, thank you for agreeing to meet today. I hope we can find a peaceful." Vexer's laughter cut her off. It was loud, deep, and cruel. The kind of laugh that said he already knew how this meeting would end. "Peace?" he sneered. "The only peace you will know, human, is when you kneel and surrender. Your kind speaks of peace because you are too weak to fight." Lisa stayed calm. "We prefer reason to war, Commander. Surely we can find common ground. Trade perhaps." "Trade?" Vexer slammed his fist on the table, the sound echoing like thunder. "We do not trade with prey animals. We take what we want. Your colonies burn because you are too weak to defend them. Your people die because you send diplomats instead of soldiers." Jake stood at the edge of the room, silent but tense. His jaw clenched, his pulse steady but dangerous. Vexer pressed a button on his wrist. A hologram flickered to life above the table, showing burning cities, destroyed ships, and screaming civilians. "These are your worlds," he said proudly. "New Phoenix, Cedar Falls, Riverside Station. All gone. All conquered." The images reflected in Lisa's eyes. She didn't move, didn't flinch. But inside her heart cracked a little more. The narrator's voice grew cold. Each image burned into their hearts. But the galaxy mistook their silence for surrender. Vexor leaned forward. "Your time is over, human." Lisa looked up at him, calm, steady, almost pitying. A faint smile touched her lips. "No," she said quietly. "It's just beginning." The meeting ended in silence. Not peace. Not understanding. Just cold silence, and the faint hum of alien machinery echoing through the halls of Gamma Nexus Station. Captain Jake Morrison stood by the exit, his hands still tight at his sides. He wanted to speak, to shout, to punch something, but he couldn't. Orders were orders. He was a soldier. Ambassador Lisa Rodriguez walked beside him, her face calm and unreadable. But Jake knew her well enough to see it, the quiet storm behind her eyes. As they stepped out of the chamber, Commander Alan Brooks followed close behind. His voice was low and bitter. "They didn't come for peace, Lisa. They came to humiliate us." Lisa nodded slowly. "I know. They're not even hiding it anymore," Alan continued. "They broke every treaty clause, brought warships into a neutral zone, threatened us in front of the Federation, and no one said a word. Not one delegate stood up for humanity." Jake glanced back at the large chamber door which had just closed behind them. "Because they're afraid," he said. "They've seen what the Kree do to their enemies. No one wants to be next." Lisa stopped walking and turned toward the window overlooking the starfield. The blue glow of Gamma Nexus bathed her face in cold light. "Fear," she said softly. "That's their weapon. That's how they win without even fighting." Alan sighed. "And what do we do now?" Lisa's voice hardened. "We keep trying. We do what humans always do. We endure." Hours passed. The galactic delegates left one by one, pretending nothing had happened. But everyone had seen the Kree's arrogance. Everyone had seen how humanity was treated. And in the corners of the station, whispers began to spread. "The humans are finished. They'll give up their colonies. They never had real power anyway." Jake heard those whispers as he walked through the crowded corridors. He ignored them at first. But each word dug deeper. Finished. Weak. Powerless. He stopped by a viewing deck, looking down at the Turturnova docked below. It looked so small beside the Kree warships. But somehow that small ship felt more alive than all of them combined. He clenched his fists. "Weak," he whispered. "That's what they think." Meanwhile, inside her quarters, Lisa recorded her report to Earth Command. Her tone was calm and professional, the way a diplomat's voice must be. But beneath the surface, every word carried quiet anger. War Commander Vexor has demanded the surrender of all outer colonies. He has threatened to use force if his demands are not met. The Federation remains silent. They fear the Kree more than they value peace. "I believe we are out of options." She paused for a long time before speaking again. "Recommend preparation for defensive mobilization. The Kree are moving closer each week. Earth must be ready." Lisa stopped the recording. Her reflection stared back at her from the dark screen, calm eyes, tired face. The mask of diplomacy. She had worn it for too long. The next morning, alarms echoed across the station. Jake rushed to the bridge of the Turturnova, his boots pounding against the metal floor. "Report," he shouted. A crewman turned from the console, panic in his voice. "Incoming transmission from the outer rim. It's New Avalon Colony." Jake's heart dropped. New Avalon, one of Earth's most peaceful colonies. Families, farms, research labs. The screen flickered to life, static, smoke, and screams. Then a woman's voice came through, broken and terrified. "This is New Avalon, we're under attack. Kree ships in orbit. Shields failing. The signal cut out. Jake's knuckles turned white as he gripped the console. "Can we contact them again?" "Negative, sir. Transmission lost." Lisa entered the bridge moments later, her face pale but controlled. "They didn't wait for negotiation," she said quietly. "They're already moving." Hours later, the news spread across the Federation. 17 colonies had fallen before. Now the 18th, New Avalon, was burning. But this time something changed. This time humanity didn't stay silent. From Mars to Titan, from orbital platforms to deep space stations, human captains began sending coded messages. Old military channels lit up again after years of silence. Project Iron Dawn, a name long buried under peace treaties, appeared in encrypted transmissions. Lisa sat in her quarters once more, watching the reports of burning cities. But this time her expression was different. Calm still, yes, but with something sharper beneath it. Jake entered quietly. "Orders from Earth Command just came through," he said, holding a data pad. Lisa looked up. "And?" Jake's lips curved into a grim smile. "They're pulling every diplomat home. Every negotiation cancelled. Earth Command says." He looked at her, voice low and steady. "If they want war, we'll show them how humans fight." For the first time in months, Lisa allowed herself a small, real smile. "The Kree wanted to see humanity's strength," she said. "They're about to." The narrator's voice returned, quiet but powerful. "For generations, humanity had hidden its true power, its fire, behind words of peace and reason. The galaxy thought we were harmless, that we had forgotten how to fight. But on that day, when the flames of New Avalon reached the stars, humanity remembered." The camera pulls back, showing fleets assembling in hidden shipyards. Massive vessels rising from lunar bases. Old AI war machines coming back online. The heartbeat returns, stronger this time. Louder. One beat for every human lost. The galaxy had crossed the line. And humanity stopped holding back. Space was silent, too silent. But deep beneath the silence, something ancient began to stir. For centuries humans had built and hidden. They built under the seas of Europa, inside hollowed asteroids, beneath the red dust of Mars. They told the galaxy they were explorers, dreamers, traders. But they were also survivors. And survivors always have a plan. After the fall of New Avalon, the galaxy expected humanity to beg for peace. But no transmission came from Earth. No surrender. No plea. Only silence. A silence that made the other species nervous. Because this time the humans were not talking. On Mars, under a canyon the size of continents, engineers and soldiers moved like shadows through steel corridors. Gigantic blast doors opened one by one, shaking the ground as they revealed something long hidden: ships. Not transport ships. Not exploration vessels. War machines. Rows of them. Hundreds. Thousands. Each one marked with a single symbol, a burning sun surrounded by 12 stars. The emblem of Project Iron Dawn. Commander Alan Brooks watched from an observation platform on Gamma Nexus as alien fleets repositioned themselves across the border. Every signal he intercepted said the same thing: human resistance will end within months. But Alan knew something they didn't. He had served in the old wars. Back when humanity first joined the Federation. He had seen what humans could do when pushed too far. "They have no idea," he whispered to himself. On Earth, in a bunker beneath the Andes Mountains, Admiral Tessa Ward stood in front of a massive screen showing the map of the galaxy. Red marks indicated lost colonies. Blue lights, human fleets now reactivating. "All Iron Dawn facilities are online," an officer reported. "We've activated the dormant AIs. Shipyards on Titan and Callisto are running again." Admiral Ward nodded. "Good. What about the old prototypes?" "Operational. They'll be combat-ready within 72 hours. She looked at the map for a long moment, then whispered, "Let them come." Meanwhile, on the Terra-Nova, Captain Jake Morrison watched his crew prepare for redeployment. The small ship had been reclassified from diplomatic escort to reconnaissance command. He leaned against the console as his navigator, Ensign Harper, glanced up nervously. "Sir, are we really going to war?" Jake's eyes didn't leave the stars. "We didn't start it, Harper. But we're damn well going to finish it." Far across the stars, the Krelland Empire celebrated. War Commander Vexer stood aboard his flagship Bloodfang, watching the latest reports of destroyed human outposts. Every night, he laughed at their weakness. "They'll fold soon," one of his lieutenants said proudly. "Earth can't stand alone against us." Vexer smirked. "Humans talk too much. When the talking stops, that means they're broken." But he was wrong. When humans stopped talking, it meant something far worse. It meant they were ready. Back on Earth, hidden factories came alive. The skies above Antarctica glowed with the light of ascending carriers. In orbit, massive cannons were mounted on defense platforms. The narrator's voice grew heavy. For 200 years, humanity had played the role of the weak. They hid their strength behind diplomacy, their weapons behind peace. They let the galaxy underestimate them. But Iron Dawn had been waiting, for the day the galaxy forgot to be afraid. Lisa Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the Terra-Nova, now refitted for war. Her diplomatic badge still glimmered on her chest, but her eyes no longer looked soft. She looked at Jake. "How long before the fleet is ready?" 3 days, he replied. "But Earth Command says we strike the moment they move again." Lisa nodded slowly. "So it begins." Jake studied her for a moment. "You don't regret it?" leaving diplomacy behind. Lisa smiled sadly. I regret that they made it necessary. Aboard the Bloodfang, the Kree War Council gathered again. A scout ship had intercepted strange signals coming from human space. Encrypted, rhythmic, and repeating. Vexer frowned as he listened to the transmission. What language is that? He asked. The communications officer replied, It's human, but old. Pre-Federation code. The message repeated again, louder this time. Iron Dawn Protocol, Awakening. The bridge went quiet. For the first time, Vexer's grin faltered. Send recon drones, he ordered. I want eyes on Earth immediately. But by the time the drones reached the edge of human space, they saw something that made every Kree commander fall silent. Thousands of ships. Massive vessels that didn't exist on any known registry. Dark gray hulls, no insignia, except for one blazing mark on each, a sun surrounded by 12 stars. On Mars, Admiral Ward stood before her command staff. The Federation ignored our warnings. The Kree think we are finished. That ends today. She looked around the room. Soldiers, pilots, and engineers, faces hard with resolve. From this moment, Earth stands alone. We will not ask for help. We will not ask for mercy. We will remind the galaxy why humanity survived everything it faced. The room echoed with one sound, the united pounding of fists against tables. Jake's voice played through the comms from the Terra Nova. This is Captain Morrison of the Terra Nova fleet. To all human ships, this is our line. We hold it. We protect it. And if they cross it, we burn the sky. The narrator spoke softly over the rising sound of engines and drums. Iron Dawn was never meant to be a weapon of conquest. It was humanity's last promise, that if peace failed, they would never die quietly. Now that promise was being kept. The camera zoomed out, showing human fleets awakening, glowing engines lighting the void. A sleeping giant had opened its eyes. The final shot fades to black as a transmission cuts through the static, Admiral Ward's voice. To all colonies and allies, the age of pretending is over. Project Iron Dawn is active. The stars burned cold and silent. But somewhere between them, a storm was coming. For 3 days, the galaxy had watched human space from afar, waiting for their surrender, waiting for their next plea for peace. But no message came. No words. Only movement. Human ships began to vanish from known routes. Stations went dark. Civilian colonies stopped broadcasting. The Kree believed it meant panic. But it wasn't panic. It was preparation. Aboard the Kree flagship Bloodfang, War Commander Vexer stood before his officers, satisfied. The humans are retreating, one reported. Their fleets are pulling back to inner systems. It's only a matter of time. Vexer grinned, sharp teeth glinting under the crimson lights. Good. Let them run. We'll hunt them down and burn their world last, so they watch everything they built turn to dust. The crew cheered, but in the background, one Kree officer frowned at his console. Commander, we're detecting strange readings near the Nabora sector. Small energy signatures, too faint for warships. Vexer waved his claw dismissively. Ignore them. Humans hide like rats. Find me their ships, not ghosts. The officer obeyed. But those ghosts were not rats. They were bait. Across the void, deep in the shadows of an asteroid field, Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Terra Nova. The ship's lights were dimmed, the crew silent, every console running on stealth power. Outside, 20 other human ships floated motionless among the asteroids, hulls cold, engines silent. Jake's voice was calm. All ships maintain blackout. Wait for my mark. On his main screen, red dots moved closer, Kree warships entering the trap. Ensign Harper whispered, Sir, they've entered the kill zone. Jake's eyes didn't move from the screen. Let them come closer. The Kree fleet advanced, confident and careless. Their scanners found nothing. No heat, no engines, no shields. Then, in one heartbeat, space exploded with light. From the asteroids, hundreds of hidden mines activated, not ordinary mines but graviton collapse charges. The surrounding space folded inward, dragging ships off course and tearing through their shields like paper. Multiple hull breaches, screamed a Kree officer. Shields collapsing. Before they could recover, the human fleet lit up. Engines roared to life, plasma trails burning blue across the void. Jake gave the order. Fire. Every gun, every torpedo, every drone unleashed its fury. The silence of space turned into thunder. Within minutes, 6 Kree warships were destroyed, shredded by invisible shrapnel and gravity ripples. Target the lead vessel. Jake shouted. Vexer's flagship. The Turturanova's cannons blazed, striking the Bloodfang's flank. Inside his ship, Vexor staggered as alarm screamed. What is this?" he roared. His tactical officer shouted, "Sir, their weapons are disrupting our systems. We can't lock on." "Impossible," Vexor bellowed. "They're just humans." But humans had changed. Lisa Rodriguez stood behind Jake, watching the chaos unfold on the holodisplay. Her voice was quiet, almost mournful. "They wanted to see our strength. Now they'll see our rage." The human fleet moved like a living thing, fast, coordinated, precise. Old ships, small ships, but each fighting like it had something to prove. And they did. Across the sector, the battle lasted only 27 minutes. When it ended, the Kree fleet was gone, broken debris drifting among the asteroids. Only the Bloodfang survived, its engines failing, hull scarred and burning. Jake looked at the wreckage and spoke softly, "Let one ship live. Let them tell the others what they saw." Harper blinked. "Sir?" Jake turned to him, eyes hard. "If they think we're merciful, they'll come again. But if they think we're monsters, they'll hesitate." Lisa nodded. "Fear is a language they understand." Hours later, the story spread through the galaxy. Kree channels were filled with panic. Entire fleet destroyed. Unknown human weapons detected. They used gravity as a weapon. The Federation tried to deny it. But then came the recordings. Footage from Kree escape pods showing the moment the stars themselves seemed to bend around human ships. The galaxy had laughed at humanity for centuries. Now no one was laughing. In the ruins of the Kree fleet, a single transmission escaped the wreckage of the Bloodfang. Vexor's furious voice echoed through static. "To all Kree fleets, the humans have declared war. They fight with no honor, no rules, no fear. Destroy them before they spread." But by the time his message reached the Kree High Council, human fleets were already on the move. Hitting outposts, cutting supply lines, sabotaging communication networks. Everywhere the Kree turned, humans were there first. Silent, precise, unforgiving. On Earth, Admiral Ward watched the reports with cold satisfaction. Operation Iron Dawn Phase 1. Success, her aide confirmed. Ward's expression didn't change. Begin Phase 2. Send the message to the Federation. The aide hesitated. "And, what should the message say, ma'am?" Ward looked up at the screen showing the burning wreckage of the Bloodfang. Her voice was calm and sharp as steel. "Tell them this: humanity is done pretending to be weak." The narrator's voice faded in as the screen filled with drifting debris and shattered ships. For years, the galaxy saw humans as fragile, naive, desperate for peace. But peace is not weakness. It is restraint. And when restraint ends, only fire remains. Lisa stood beside Jake on the observation deck, looking out at the stars. They were quiet, their reflections glowing in the glass. Jake broke the silence first. "You think they'll come again?" Lisa's voice was steady. "Of course. But this time they'll come afraid." He nodded. "Good." The hum of the ship grew louder as the fleet reformed, engines pulsing like a heartbeat. Lisa whispered, "This was just the beginning." The war had lasted only days. But its echo reached every corner of the galaxy. In the shimmering halls of the Galactic Council, silence reigned. Dozens of alien ambassadors stood frozen, watching the same recording on the central holoscreen, human ships tearing through the mighty Kree armada in the Nabora sector. One by one the explosions played again. One by one the lights flickered across the faces of those who had once mocked Earth. Even the great empires, the Idle Dominion, the Serati Combine, the Zath Collective, watched in disbelief. The humans hadn't just fought back. They had planned it. Every move, every strike, every trap. Ambassador Troll of the Serati finally broke the silence. His voice trembled. They were supposed to be primitive, recovering. How did they? No one answered. No one could. From the far end of the chamber, Ambassador Lisa Rodriguez entered with quiet steps. She wore a plain black uniform, no medals, no symbols, only the emblem of Earth on her sleeve. Her presence drew every gaze. The alien delegates whispered her name like a curse. The human envoy. The one who begged for peace. The one whose colonies burned. Lisa stopped at the center of the hall. The massive holoscreen behind her showed the wreckage of the Kree fleet, debris drifting, the silence of the dead. She looked up, calm but unyielding. "I came here 2 years ago," she began, her voice steady, echoing through the hall. "I asked for protection. For justice. For peace." Her eyes met each delegate. "You gave me silence." Somewhere in the back, an alien counselor shouted, "Your kind attacked first. Lisa turned toward him slowly. Our colonies were slaughtered. Our people burned. You called it a border dispute. Another alien, trying to sound confident, spoke up. You retaliated without approval from this council. That is a violation of interstellar law. Lisa's calm broke slightly, not with anger but something colder. Law? She repeated softly. Whose law? The same law that ignored 17 massacres because the victims were human. The room fell silent again. Lisa stepped forward. You all wanted us to kneel. To ask for mercy. To be polite. Her voice hardened. Consider this your last courtesy. Across the galaxy the message was broadcast. Every planet, every outpost, every hidden base received the transmission. This is Ambassador Lisa Rodriguez of Earth. To all who hear this, the human colonies stand united. The Kree Empire attacked without mercy. They have been answered in kind. We will not seek permission to defend ourselves. We will not beg for peace while our people burn. Her words were clear, her tone unwavering. And then she ended with the same line that would be remembered for centuries. Stop attacking or we stop pretending to be courteous. The transmission spread faster than light, bouncing through relays intercepted by hundreds of species. Everywhere it went, it brought fear. In Kree space, chaos erupted. Fleet Command demanded answers. How could a single human task force destroy an entire fleet? Spies reported impossible technologies. Graviton collapse mines, phase-shift torpedoes, AI-guided decoys. In truth, humanity had used nothing new. They had simply learned to fight smarter. Meanwhile, on the human side, the Terran Defense Fleet was no longer hiding. New warships, massive, dark, and efficient, began appearing across known space. The TDF Valiant, the TDF Odin, the TDF Horizon. Ships built not for exploration but vengeance. Each one carried the same silent promise: never again. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Turterinova, staring at the endless data streams flooding in from across the galaxy. Reports of frightened colonies. Abandoned border posts. Empires withdrawing fleets from human sectors. They're scared, Harper said quietly. Jake nodded. Good. Fear keeps people alive. Lisa entered the bridge, her uniform still marked with the dust of the council chamber. She looked tired but resolute. They won't admit it, she said softly, but the council's collapsing. Half the delegates left before I finished speaking. Jake gave a faint smile. Then we're finally getting their attention. Lisa shook her head. Attention isn't the same as respect. Jake turned toward her. No. But it's the first step. Far away, in the dark throne room of the Zath Collective, Supreme Chancellor Kale watched the footage of human ships destroying the Kree. His advisors murmured nervously. They've become too dangerous. We should crush them now before they grow stronger. Kale raised one hand, silencing them. Fools, he hissed. You saw what they did with a handful of ships. If we strike, they will turn their rage on us next. He leaned forward, eyes glowing faintly. Find a way to deal with them, quietly. Back on Earth, cities glowed under peaceful skies for the first time in years. Children played in streets rebuilt from ash. But everyone knew peace was fragile. In the Terran Command bunker, Admiral Ward looked over a holographic map showing the galaxy. Dozens of red zones marked potential threats. Phase 2 complete, her aide said. The Kree are retreating from human sectors. Their fleets are in disarray. Ward nodded. Then we move to Phase 3. Begin full mobilization. Her aide hesitated. Ma'am, the Council has called for emergency talks. Ward's lips curved into a small, knowing smile. Good. Let them talk. We'll keep building. The narrator's voice returned as the camera panned across the stars. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy feared again. Not the Kree, not the Dominion, not the Sarati, but the species they had once dismissed as fragile. Humans had been underestimated. Mocked. Ignored. Now, every world whispered their name like a storm approaching. On the observation deck of the Turterinova, Lisa stood beside Jake, watching the stars drift past. Do you think they'll ever forgive us? She asked quietly. Jake didn't look away from the stars. They don't have to. She turned toward him. Then what do we do now? He finally looked at her, eyes reflecting the blue light of the console. Now, he said, we make sure they never forget. The final scene showed the human fleet forming up, hundreds of ships rising from Earth's orbit, engines burning like sunrise. The narrator's voice lowered to a whisper. They wanted humanity to kneel. Instead, they taught it how to rise. Fade out. Distant drumbeat. Soft hum of engines. The screen goes black. The war was over. But the silence that followed was far more dangerous. In the far reaches of space, burned ships still floated among the stars, silent memorials to arrogance. The Kree Empire, once feared across systems, had fallen into chaos. Their fleets were shattered, their homeworld blockaded, their leaders missing. And across the galaxy, every government asked the same question. If humans could do that to the Kree, what could they do to us? On Gamma Nexus Station, the same meeting hall that once echoed with laughter now stood quiet. The banners of the Galactic Council hung half-torn, the air filled with tension and whispered fear. Ambassador Lisa Rodriguez returned, her black coat trailing behind her. This time she wasn't begging for peace. She was there to listen. Dozens of delegates sat around the circular table. No one mocked her now. No one dared. The Sarati, once arrogant, avoided her gaze. The Idle delegate fidgeted nervously with his translator. Even the Zath Collective, the most powerful of the old empires, remained silent. Council Speaker Voth cleared his throat. Ambassador Rodriguez, humanity's response has created instability across the sectors. Lisa's expression didn't change. Instability? She repeated softly. Our people were slaughtered. The Kree burned our colonies. And you call it instability when we fight back. Voth looked uneasy. You have proven your strength. But now smaller empires fear you. Trade routes are collapsing. The Federation. Lisa interrupted. The Federation was silent when our children were dying. Pause. No one spoke after that. Meanwhile, deep beneath Earth's surface in the Terran command bunker, Admiral Elena Ward stood before a massive star map, a glowing network of routes, sectors, and hidden bases. Behind her, screens displayed encrypted transmissions intercepted from alien space. Captain Jake Morrison entered, saluting. Ambassador Rodriguez just contacted us. The Council wants a peace summit. Ward didn't look up. They want to control the damage, not make peace. Jake frowned. You think they'll try to turn against us? Ward zoomed in on the map, several sectors highlighted in red. I don't think, she said grimly. I know. Across the galaxy, the Silent Alliance was forming. It began with whispers, quiet messages sent through encrypted channels, secret meetings held in dark corners of neutral worlds. Old rivals, enemies for centuries, began to unite under one shared fear: humanity. The Sarati, Zath, Idle, and Krenari combine, all powerful civilizations, sent delegates to a hidden world known as Velar Prime. There, under a dome of shifting purple light, the greatest warlords and diplomats of the galaxy gathered. Chancellor Kale of the Zath took the floor. His voice was calm, cold, and sharp. You all saw what happened to the Kree, he said. They thought humanity was weak. They were wrong. He gestured toward a hollow display showing human fleets expanding across sectors, building new stations, securing old ruins. They are not rebuilding. They are preparing. A Sarati general hissed. You suggest we strike first? Kale's eyes narrowed. No, he replied softly. We make them think they're safe. We pretend to accept peace, while we build our own answer. The others nodded. The Silent Alliance was born. Back on the Turturanova, Jake watched from the viewport as the stars drifted by, endless, beautiful, and full of secrets. Lisa joined him, her expression thoughtful. Do you ever wonder, she asked, if we've become the thing they feared? Jake looked at her. Maybe, he said. But fear keeps them from killing us again. Lisa turned away, gazing at the distant constellations. Fear is a dangerous foundation for peace, she murmured. Jake nodded slowly. So is weakness. They both fell silent, listening to the hum of the ship. Far across the galaxy, inside an abandoned asteroid outpost, a figure sat cloaked in shadow, a member of the Silent Alliance. He spoke into a communicator. The humans believe they've won, the voice said. They've shown their strength. But they've also revealed their pride. Another voice crackled through the line. Then we use that pride against them. Let them think the war is over, while we prepare for something greater. The figure turned, revealing alien eyes burning with quiet hatred. The galaxy survived one human war. It won't survive another. On Earth, humanity continued to build. New ships left orbit every week, larger, faster, more advanced. Colony worlds that had once been rubble now thrived with factories and training academies. Every human knew the truth: peace was temporary. Admiral Ward stood before her officers. Our fleets will expand to the outer sectors. No world left unguarded. No colony left unarmed. If they come again, we meet them on our terms. Her officers saluted. For Earth. For humanity, she replied. Meanwhile, Lisa received an encrypted message. It wasn't from any known ally. The message contained only 3 words. They are uniting. Her blood ran cold. She sent the message directly to Admiral Ward. Within minutes, Earth Command was on full alert. Defense grids activated. Fleet orders went out. Old satellites turned their eyes toward distant sectors. Jake joined her in the command room. Who sent it? Lisa shook her head. No signature. But whoever it was, they wanted us to know. Jake exhaled slowly. Then we're not done yet. In the council chamber, rumors spread like wildfire. Some claimed the humans were developing new weapons. Others whispered that Earth had allied with ancient AI remnants from forgotten wars. No one knew the truth, and that made the fear worse. The narrator's voice returned as the scene panned across the galaxy. The fires of war had dimmed, but smoke still hung in the air. Old empires rebuilt their fleets. New alliances formed in the dark. And somewhere in the quiet between the stars, humanity listened, waiting, watching, preparing. They had been merciful once. They would not be again. Final scene. On the bridge of the Turturanova, Jake stood beside Lisa as an alert flashed across the main screen. Incoming transmission. Unknown origin. Encrypted. The hologram flickered to life. A shadowed figure appeared, their voice distorted. Ambassador Rodriguez. Captain Morrison. You don't know me, but you need to hear this. The galaxy isn't planning peace. It's planning extinction. The transmission cut off. Lisa's eyes widened. Who was that? Jake's jaw tightened. Doesn't matter. They just confirmed what we already feared. The camera slowly zoomed out, showing the Turturanova turning toward the stars once more. Engines ignited, burning like fire in the void. Humanity's story wasn't ending. It was only changing shape. And the galaxy was running out of time. Fade to black. Soft heartbeat sound. The music swells, echoing the rhythm of war returning.